into the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
That's right, this is the Bar Rescue After Show here on AfterBuzz TV. Today we're talking about Season 4, Episode 27, entitled Too Many Managers, Not Enough Man. If you haven't already, go to AfterBuzzTV.com, check out our website, as well as go to YouTube.com/AfterBuzzTV and subscribe. Also, check us out on iTunes, SoundCloud, and anywhere you can find podcasts. We're there. Leave us a rating on iTunes. 5 stars is the best stars. I'm your host, Stephen Lemieux, covering the episode today while Mia Mastroianni and Kevin Undergar are out. But joining me, I could not do it alone. Making her debut last week on the After Show, we have Daria Baronato coming back.
Thank you.
And you recognize her, you love her, you know her, you recognize her voice especially. We have Roxy Stryer.
Hi guys, good to be back. Love the show, love you guys.
And we're going to be talking about Bar Rescue today. Just straight off the bat, thoughts on the episode. What did you think, Rox?
I thought it was a really interesting episode. I think they're all interesting, but I felt like it had a lot of heart. I feel like there were some really bad seeds that we needed to get out of there, and I'm kind of concerned that we didn't set them up for absolute success. We did the best we could, but I don't know about their future. This is a place I would go. It was gorgeous by the end, which we'll get to, but I am a little worried still.
Yeah, every Bar Rescue episode that I watch, I literally think the same thing. The staff. It all starts with the employees. It could be a beautiful restaurant. It could have the best location on the best street in the best town. You need the proper staff to run a good bar and a good restaurant. And as a bar manager, that's what's most important to me, staff.
Yeah, it's tough when you have a staff that were empowered to be managers and then taken down a peg, because that kind of breeds a little bit of disrespect for the leader. And then now you're moving somebody from a bar staff to kitchen staff working on steaks that to get a good price point you have to have less ounceage, which means thinner steaks, which means they're going to be a little bit more testy when cooking. So we'll get into all that, but let's go ahead and talk about the situation that this bar is in. So the owner is named Darren Bradley. He goes by Bradley, and he's worked 25 years in the railroad industry and basically saved up his entire life to have this nest egg, his 401k, all of his life savings, to dump it into this bar called Pro's Sports Bar. And this is a sports bar in Country Club Hills, Illinois. It's about 30 miles out of Chicago. And he, less than a year in, the pressure was a lot, and it kind of made him sick. He said he got blood on the brain. They didn't really elaborate too much on what was actually wrong with him and sent him to the ER. But from a bar that for the first 3 months was being very successful to going down a steep hill of not being very successful, they landed $1 million in debt.
Losing $9,000 a month.
And this is a man with 5 kids.
Yeah. Oh. 5 kids who worked his entire life, worked his butt off. This is the dream of all dreams. And he seemed like a really good dude. Sometimes you watch this and you're like, I have a hard time rooting for you because I just don't know what kind of person you seem like. This was like, oh God, I need you to succeed. I really am. The 5 kids thing, that I'm a sensitive person. That's like gets at my gut.
You were like crying when we were watching the episode.
I cry all the time on these shows. I really do.
This is literally my worst nightmare, an episode like this. It's every man's dream, and a lot of females' dreams, to own a bar when you retire. It's the American dream, I think. And to see this guy who worked his entire life to save, to open his own bar, and then to be $1 million in debt, it's the worst scenario possible. And I think that a lot of people do this with lack of experience. There is ways to fix it, but like I said, you have to hire the right staff to run your place.
Yeah, he did not hire the right staff at all, I believe, from the beginning. But I feel like some of them really shone through in this episode, and that's what we're going to get into as well. The bar info, it's 30 miles out of Chicago. The average income of the normal resident in this area is $65,000, which is a very high middle class income, and then we have the average age being 41. And now they're on a main road. They're right off a main road where 14,000 cars come through every single day. So this is a prime location with a really great clientele, that's potential clientele, that is just not catering to what those people would kind of go for. And from the get-go, we see their sign kind of looks like a hardware store. They're mentioning how pros sports.
Yeah, you walked into this place. I mean, the sign definitely, but you walked in and it had these folding chairs, these tables that kind of looked like they were going to collapse. It wasn't anywhere you would walk in and be like, ooh, I want to stay. You know, you pull up somewhere, you look at the menu, you're like, all right, let me just look inside for a second. You look inside here and you're like, I'm running. This is not something I'm going to do. Look at this crap. It's not worth my money. No matter, even if it's the cheapest place in the world, it's not worth my money. So, yeah, and then you were talking a lot about the sign, which I think is a really astute observation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the sign is everything. When you're looking for a good restaurant, and if you're not using the apps on your phone to find it, if you're just using your eyes, you're in a new town, what do you look for? You look for the signage. You look at the menu if they have one out front, or you go in, you talk to them, and you feel the vibe. But if you don't get that far, the thing that you do see is the sign. So the first thing that threw me off was, oh, it's a little cliche, it's a little dead, it had no life to it. So that was definitely one of my first changes going into the restaurant. Now, diving into the actual restaurant, it looked like they could play beer pong on those tables. It looked like one of those underground bars you find, and there's a bunch of young kids kind of hanging around, and maybe there's a beer pong tournament later.
Right.
That's what it looked like.
Exactly, and that's the problem. We've got the name, Pro Sports Bar. We've got this thing that looks like maybe beer pong could be played. I'm thinking, all right, 41-year-olds. Really? This is a 41-year-old spot? Even from the sign, Pro Sports Bar. I'm not looking at that thinking, yeah, you know what? My parents would really want to go there. My uncle would, I'm thinking like, maybe when I was in college, I would have tried this out, but I still even think it was weird for that.
Yeah.
So you have to know who your audience is. You need to know your clientele. Picking a name like that, you don't even know really what you're getting. At least you think, all right, fun time. You walk in dead. Nobody there. Lack of music. You've got bartenders screaming at each other. There was nothing going for it.
I think the worst part about this is that you love the owners, or sometimes you love the owners. In this case, we like the guy. It's just one of those times where people don't know how to create a successful business and pander to their clientele. Because if he had done a consumer survey, if he had looked at the demographic of the area, he could have made different decisions based on this bar. But even the bar itself, if you're going to have a sports bar, you need to cater to people who are going to watch the games. And having one or two TVs is not going to do that. And really having bartenders that are going to talk back to clientele is definitely not going to do that. Because honestly, people just want to go in, have a beer, and watch a game. Even if they're alone, they don't want to get yelled at.
Absolutely. And to play devil's advocate, which I like to do,
I'm shocked. What are you like a Jersey Devil?
It's almost the Jersey Devil's advocate.
No pun intended. But I do go to places where the chairs are picnic tables or, and it doesn't need to have the nicest atmosphere, because if the vibe is right and the food is right and the drinks are good, I'm going to stay. And I think that's exactly what this place lacks, the vibe. You walked in, the bartenders were more concerned talking to or I should say the managers, because everyone was a manager, right?
Yeah.
They were more concerned talking to one another rather than greeting the guest. One of my cardinal rules being a manager is say hello to everybody. I don't care if you're in the middle of mopping the floor. Look up. If someone walks in, hi, how you doing? Welcome to Flights, or welcome to wherever you work. It's really important to greet the guest, because if I'm inviting you into my home, do you want to be greeted?
Yeah.
Of course. And that's what it is.
No, I want to be ignored totally, because that's what was happening.
Yeah,
there.
that is exactly what was happening. And that's like a no-no.
When you don't have a host at your establishment, everyone's a host.
Absolutely.
And everyone needs to be a host.
Yeah, this was like Oprah walked in somewhere and was like, Andy, you get a manager title. Andy, you get a manager title. It's like, are you crazy? How do you have more managers when there's so many more positions to be filled? You have to have the host. You have to have some people who are
food
just
runners.
Bartenders. You're food runners. Like,
right.
I can't even imagine this. They had people who had not been there that long and already they're managers.
So let's talk about that. So with the Recon, we got John in the car with Lisa Marie and
Tiffany.
Mm-hmm. So they're going over who's actually at this place. So they talk about Bradley. Bradley's the owner, of course. And then we see Bobby. Okay, Bobby's the kitchen manager. Bobby's a manager. All right, Keisha's a manager. Sarah. What is Sarah? She's a bartender and...
Manager.
Okay, and then Laura, she's a bartender and a...
Oh, I got this one. I got it.
Roxy.
Manager.
Okay. And then we have Chyna. Chyna is a bartender, and she has one other title here. I'm not really remembering it.
Wait. Manager?
Yeah.
No, was it manager?
It couldn't be.
It could. I don't...
Yeah.
5 managers? Really?
Yeah,
5?
manager.
They have 5 managers plus the owner, and none of the managers have actually been given the title of general manager.
P.S. They have one bartender, and she is a BITCH.
They have one bartender who's not a manager. All the rest are bartenders / managers. So this is too many cooks in the kitchen, too many chiefs, not enough Indians.
By the way, none of them are managing. They're
None
just
of them are
managing
managing.
each other. You do this, no, you do that, and then it doesn't get done. Sorry. Is that how this business is going to operate? Are you guys doing well? Are you making money? How's that $1 million in debt feel? Good? Yeah?
And I want to talk about it right now, but we'll get to it. That $1 million, when they tell everyone that he's $1 million in debt, that was just tore you apart. But even in the after shows, even at AfterBuzz TV, so many of our hosts are so good that when you have a show, you can't have 4 lead hosts, unfortunately. As much as you're like, oh, you're all great, you could all do this, unfortunately it comes down to the producers being like, one person has to be the person. Otherwise, it goes in every direction.
Absolutely. And the problem that you have when you have so many managers and then you try to demote them back to just a bartender, you have this hostility in the work environment that you don't want. And now it's like, well, I used to be a manager, and why do I have to listen to you? Because we used to be on the same playing field, and now you're telling me what to do. It creates a really, really bad and rough environment to work in. So, yeah, definitely less managers, because when you're looking for structure in the workplace, you know who to go to. You go to the manager. Maybe 2 managers, maybe a bar manager and a general manager. That is the norm. Any more than that, I think, is clutter, and I think it gets really confusing for the employees and for the staff. And also for the customer that comes up to the bar and sees a bunch of guys, in casual clothes lingering around micromanaging. That's a no-no as well. It makes people feel uncomfortable.
Let's talk about why he did this, though. So, right, he went into the hospital, and he felt like he needed a bunch of people to step up. Now, do you guys think, because I'm trying to wonder, it must have not always been like this. They were successful. He goes into the hospital, and then he says, "You're all managers? Because I need this help?" Is that what took place? What was the active decision here? Did he just say, you guys decide amongst yourself, and they all said, hey, we can all do it? How did that happen?
I think it came to people assuming they took the title and then him not taking it back. I really think it was they weren't all working the same days, and he was basically like, I need somebody to be a manager on Monday. This person was a manager on Monday. I need somebody to be a manager on Tuesday. This person was a manager on Tuesday. But he never took back the titles.
I completely agree, because you saw when John says, which one of you are managers? Some of them raised their hand high, and some of them went like this. They kind of did the so-so thing. What do you mean you're kind of a manager? What the F does that mean? If you walked into AfterBuzz and you said, hey guys, right now, who is blank? Any position, and somebody was like, I'm sorry, what? How do you run a business like that? First of all, too many managers is one thing, but then people not even knowing if they're a manager or not? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it was not a good situation. So let's go ahead and get into the recon, because we're going to be talking about this management thing all episode long. So again, they're watching from the thing. Every manager's telling the others what to do. Sean's the security guard, by the way, and Irma is in the kitchen, just to let everyone know those are the other 2 people in this. So for Recon, we have Dan and Dave from Barstool Sports. And Roxy, tell us a little bit about Barstool Sports.
This is really, really exciting for me, because I grew up reading Barstool Sports. I'm from Boston. This is a sports site that is in Boston. It's in Philly. It's in Chicago. And then there's Barstool U. And they write about really ridiculous stories, some fun things in the city, all different sports stuff. It's a great place to go to get your information. I have Barstool shorts. I have Barstool t-shirts.
So
I love
funny.
Barstool. So to watch them walk in, I was like, this is everything to me right now. These people, if you're going to take anybody to pro sports bar, these people know what's up. Like, these are your dudes. And like John said, if anybody can get this place packed, all they have to do is write one frickin' thing on Barstool. Hey, this is where we went today, and that place would be jamming. It's happened all of the time back east, like all of the time. So This was really cool. I know that these are the right guys for this job. It was mortifying what happened to them, though.
So let's get into that. So the first thing they do, we get a little bar info here. It's a 5,000 square foot place, which is fairly large, long bar and a middle floor dining area, and then they have a DJ booth with no real DJ, and the music apparently is not really a thing. So they go and they order a Pros Punch. They recommended the Pros Punch.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, let's have
8 shots.
Let's have 8 shots of different liquors poured into one glass.
Let me just defend the bartender. She did compare it to a Long Island iced tea, which, yes, okay, it's similar to a Long Island iced tea. But to make something like a Long Island iced tea your house drink, no. The point of a house drink is to use little, kind of inexpensive liquor and to get your sales up. You sell it. You want it to be your top seller. You don't want your top seller to be a glass twice the size of this, filled with nothing but liquor, because that just says bad inventory.
It also says they're not going to order another drink.
Yes.
Absolutely.
They're not going to order another drink. And also, you take some girl, she walks into this place, she's 115 pounds, she orders one of these. One of them, she finishes it, and she's in the toilet.
Oh.
Not just because there's cockroach poop on the thing that it's coming out of, not just because the bottles are whatever, but because you cannot be 8 shots deep after one drink when you're only expecting to be maybe 1 or 2 shots
I'm
deep.
sorry, officer. I only had one drink.
Straight up.
Straight up.
Ridiculous.
You're blowing a .80 on that shit.
I can't believe that nobody looked at them before they ordered it. Compared it to a Long Island iced tea. All right, so I'm thinking like maybe 3 shots at 3 ounces, 4 ounces in there would be crazy strong.
Right.
8 ounces? You have to tell somebody that. You have to say, hey, by the way, this is like you're drinking an entire fish bowl. You're about to be on your butt. 3 of you could have this and feel buzzed.
This is like what you'd want when you're going to West Hollywood for Halloween.
It's what you'd want.
Only other time.
Sitting on the lawn at a concert. That's what I picture drinking. But literally, when you're trying to advertise food and drink, the key is to slowly sip on a glass of wine while you're ordering a $14 steak. And there you go. You have a $30 tab, and they're there for an hour. That is what you want. You want to rack up the points, but at the same time, you don't want your people wasted because then they don't eat the food.
You go out, it's a wife and a husband, you're going for dinner, your kids are at home, you're 41, you're like, all right, I'm just going to get 1 drink, go back to the kids, you each order 1 drink, you're 8 shots deep, and then you're like, how did I get in this hole? I can't even believe that this is something that was served. And also, by the way, house drinks should be yummy. They should be flavorful and delicious. There was nothing but grenadine in this, and booze, and every kind of booze. Disgusting.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Did they mention how much it cost at all?
I don't think they put a price point on it.
But I'm sure they're losing money on it.
I'm sure.
Absolutely. Because God knows how much you have to charge for 8 ounces of 8 different kinds of liquors.
So while this $100 drink?
Yeah.
So while they're drinking the drink, Irma's cooking in the kitchen, and Bradley orders a burger and a catfish. So I was so confused because I think my mind refused to accept what was happening.
Wait. My 15-year-old sister does this with food. It's called using the microwave. And it's great for 15-year-old kids with like ramen noodles.
Oh, when you're
Catfish
college.
in the microwave?
Oh my gosh. The middle of this fish, can you imagine if they had seen how it had been cooked back there? If Dave and Dan if they had watched that, they never would have eaten it.
The only time I've ever microwaved catfish is leftovers the next day that I just wanted to heat up because I'm too lazy to use the oven.
That makes sense, but it's already cooked and it's already sanitized. To put fish in the microwave is just like
frozen fish.
I think frozen expired, most likely, fish.
With mold growing on the
and
outside.
Freezer burn. Okay. So I couldn't get it though. She microwaved it, then she fried it, I think was what was happening.
Threw it in the deep fryer.
So Bobby, the kitchen manager at this point, is just sitting down doing nothing, and then he decides, oh, okay, time to do some work. Meanwhile, Nina's not making any drinks. She's getting in a fight with a customer verbally, and then security, Sean, comes in and escalates the situation by just calling the customer a fat ass and yelling at him, and now we have a security guard fighting with a customer as opposed to just de-escalating the situation and taking him out of the situation.
I still don't know how I feel about Sean. I think he was very smug.
Super smug.
Even when he saw the whole renovation, he's kind of just sat there. And it's like he saw Nina get fired, so he's not going to actually say anything, but he's still going to sit there and be judgmental. What are you actually doing? If you are working security at a bar that has 5 people a night, you're not really doing anything. You're just sitting there. Do something. Clean something. You're working there, nobody's coming to the door. Do something else. He bothered me. And then, Nina yelling at everybody. She goes by the expression, the customer is always wrong. That's just her life motto.
Oh.
Clearly, it's her life motto.
You're absolutely right. That is what she goes by.
Or the trainer's always wrong.
Yeah. That's
Fair.
exactly what was going on. Nina had the worst attitude, and there's nothing that kills the atmosphere of a restaurant than a bad employee.
Right.
You guys go in, you're excited, and then they go, "Hi, what can I get for you?"
Not just a bad employee, your bartender. People look at bartenders as their therapists. They sit there, they
Absolutely.
talk to them, they want advice, they want to know what's going on. You're going to a sports bar, you might be going alone. You're sitting at the bar, you probably are alone. So you're thinking, all right, I'm going to go, I'm going to have a good time, I'm going to talk to this bartender, and she's sitting there giving them nothing except for BS, fighting with them.
If your bartenders don't have empathy, you can't be a bartender.
No.
Right.
I'm sorry, you have to relate to somebody on some level or another to actually understand their problems and at least be there for them. Just be a head to talk to, because maybe their wife's divorcing them. Maybe their wife took their kids away and ran. Maybe they have no one else in the world to talk to other than you.
No, she has really good advice for that. It's kill yourself.
Kill yourself.
Kill yourself.
That's her advice.
I'm surprised they didn't just call this
That
episode
is
Kill Yourself,
horrible.
because that's messed up.
They should have. That was definitely the line of the evening. But no, you're right. John Taffer always talks about bar science. The science of a bar, in my opinion, is the bartender. The bartender has such an important role in any restaurant or bar, and that is having the perfect duo between conversing with customers and hustling.
Yes.
Hustling.
You can't be rude, but you got to be quick.
Exactly. It's knowing how to do that. And the number one thing, if I hire a bartender, the number one thing I look at, besides knowledge, of course, because that's the most important, is personality. Can this person sell me a drink? Not only that, can they converse and still get back to the ticket board and hustle so that we
Right.
don't get behind?
Absolutely. And this just didn't have that.
No.
At all.
Neither. They didn't have either of those.
Dive bars can keep a consistent regular base just by having a good bartender.
Right.
And
That's
if
what
your
they
whole
do
staff
have.
is good bartenders, this bar honestly could have still been making a profit if they had good, consistent bartenders that were keeping the audience that were there. Because if nothing else, they could go there, enjoy watching their game with a good bartender they enjoy talking to, and maybe they wouldn't be taking as much as a hit, $9,000 a month. But
Absolutely.
I guarantee you, Nina was not ringing in drinks for anyone who came in there. If she's not doing it during the stress test or anywhere.
I'm sure we're going to get to the stress test soon, but not ringing in drinks. Hello? Like, that is how you lose money. That is the number one issue.
Not for Nina, because she doesn't care about Bradley. She doesn't care about
No.
this bar. So if they're not making money, she's still taking her tips. Of course she is. People tip more when they're not paying on. If they don't get a bill for a drink, they're like, oh wow, they ordered something nice. I'm going to leave $10 on the table. She is, I guarantee you, pocketing so much cash. She couldn't care less how this bar is doing, or that Bradley's $1 million in the hole. She doesn't care about anybody except for herself. And she's taking those tips, and she's leaving, and she's laughing straight to the bank.
Absolutely. The number one, sly bartender trick that I've learned is exactly that.
Right.
They go, oh, I didn't charge you for 5 of those beers. The manager doesn't know that. She's just not bringing in the beers. And then goes, oh, thanks, hon, and gives her a $40 tip. And then there you go. Nina's making money. The bar's not making money. Bad service, bad employment.
Absolutely.
That's why I've actually seen bars moving away from cash. It's interesting in Hollywood because
Right.
people are moving away from cash in some respects.
They're so short-sighted, though, because joke's on you, Nina. If you hadn't gotten fired and Bar Rescue hadn't come in, this bar would have closed in 2 months. And then where are you taking your tips, honey? Where are you getting them? When
Right.
the bar closes, no one's getting paid. That's the problem. They don't realize that. They're just thinking, all right, need quick cash. It's just going to keep coming in. This whole place is going to shut down because of antics like that.
You know
Absolutely.
what's sad though, now that I think of it, because this whole started about talking about the security guard. I remember we've been bringing up O-Face this season a lot, and I remember Sick, the bartender Sick from O-Face, and not the bartender, the security guy. He was so great. He was such a good personality, such a nice guy, great security guard, everything. But he supported John Taffer, and they fired him. And now they even talked about it on Bar Rescue Updates on that Back to the Bar. Yeah, we saw that Sick was a John Taffer supporter, so we had to let him go. Yeah. So now in this episode we have a security guard who's not doing anything except escalating things, and they
Yep.
keep him on, and he's smug. It's like, it just makes me fear that these people just don't understand that they can find a good employee. They are out there. There's so
Absolutely.
many people in this country that need jobs. You need to be more selective with who you hire.
By the way, even people who are living in Chicago, they're living there. Is this 30 miles out? You could make that commute, or anybody in those surrounding cities. This is not in the boonies. We're not here thinking, oh my gosh, where are people going to come from for jobs right now? Nobody's looking for a job. Hello, this is 2015. Everyone needs a freaking job. Do you know how many people are dying to work at bars? So many of them.
You
Yeah.
could find find a good steak chef. You could find anything you need.
It is honestly an art in hiring, and I've learned that so many people hire based off of like if the conversation's going well. Oh, I like this guy. I'm going to hire him.
Yeah.
You really got to look deeper than that, guys. You really have to look at the resume. Call the references. Don't ever not call the references. Call those restaurants they said they worked at. Say, hey, how was Daria as an employee? Was she nice? Was she friendly? Did she make you money?
But you can't legally say anything other than I recommend or I don't recommend. They make it very hard to let go of employees as well now.
But okay, if you can legally say I don't recommend,
that's what you said. That's what you said.
Very true. Very true.
I completely agree with you. How easy is it to be awesome for a day? I could come in,
super easy.
I could be a total piece of crap, and I could come in and trick anybody for a day. That's just the way the world works. Or for not even a day, an hour.
You're
you can
so
go
right.
into an interview and you can be like, this is my face, and this is who I am, and I'm awesome, and I'm a great employee, I'm always on time, and I'm really high spirit. And then I could come in and be absolutely awful. You don't really know what you're getting.
You can be awesome for 3 months, get that promotion, then not care.
Right.
Because and honestly, I wonder, are these people making manager salaries? Because he could easily be losing that $9,000 a month paying salaries of people who don't deserve that salary.
I think he's definitely paying too many employee wages than he needs to. Like you said, the security guard. What's he getting paid? What's he doing?
Yeah.
Nothing. There's
He should
5
be a
people
food
there.
runner too.
Do you need a security guard? I don't know the area very well, but probably not.
But the problem is, Dara, you already said, now that these people have been managers, if they are making manager salaries, what are they going to do now that they're being demoted to be a bartender?
Yeah.
I mean, so the truth of the matter is, sometimes bartenders make more money because they're taking the tips and they are making so much. But, you know, it's not a good feeling when you think you've had something, and especially if you've been that way for like a year or plus. It's not fair to them.
It's hard.
That's why I don't know how this bar is going to last.
So we bring in the staff. I really like the choices they have today. They have Tiffany Derry. She's the chef. She's going to knock out some really good steaks. She's protein expert. She knows what she's doing in that respect. And then we have Lisa Marie Joyce, who's a bartender, TGI Fridays 2003 Best Bar Trainer. And if there's anything we need for this bar right now, there's somebody who knows how to train employees.
Yeah.
So they bring them in. John talks to everyone before the stress test, I believe it was. He talks to everyone. He's like, Bradley is $1 million in debt. If you care about Bradley at all, you will step it up and you will make this happen, and you will not, like, honestly, like, how are you feeling when people saw when you saw the reaction to the employees when they said that?
Well, that's when Keisha started crying, and that made me feel like, okay, you know what? This is somebody who cares. And what you do really want working for you is somebody who cares about you and somebody who cares about this business, because then they're going to work harder. I guarantee you, she didn't realize. She didn't know how close they were to this. I bet he didn't say anything. And it shouldn't take this to open her eyes, but at least this helped. It was gut-wrenching.
It kind of reminded me of a father trying to take care of his kids, but not telling them anything.
Yeah, like the father that goes and, you know, sells his car because he's going to send you to college. And you're like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, he works midnight to 6 a.m. and then gets back just in time to take the kids to school and then work another job and doesn't let the kids know he's doing it. Like, I feel like he was just too prideful to let anyone else know. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's sad because a lot of men are like that. We would rather fail than let other people know that we are failing in the process.
I think it's human nature. You know, you want to do the right thing by everybody, and you want to be your own person. You want to make for yourself, especially a guy that had a 25-year career saving the money to make this.
Absolutely, and we find out from his employees and from Patricia and Carla, the people that he was partnered with for the first couple of years, he's a control freak. And that means that, of course, he is a proud person, and he's somebody who wants to do everything right, and he wants to take it under his own wing and whatever it is. So I would imagine he didn't say anything. But when you were running an entire establishment, guess what? You can't do everything. You just can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard. But it's honestly, this is a man who worked for a train company. I don't think he was in a leadership position. I think coming into
after 25 years, you don't think he had some sort of responsibilities as a leader?
I think maybe, but in that, I don't feel like being a control freak affects it negatively. I think that might have actually helped him in his old job.
Even if he's driving the train, that's a position of control. You don't know what he was doing. I think he probably did have some sort of control.
Yeah.
I think he probably had control over something his whole life.
He was probably a man set in his ways. If you work somewhere for 25 years, usually you're in an established position and you have your set ways. You know, you're a creature of habit. We all do it in our jobs. And so I think it was a change of scenery, but he tried to keep his old ways, and it didn't really work for him. Let's talk about the stress test, though.
Yeah, this was a great stress test because it was actually really interesting to see how people behave as managers when you have so many people. All right, let's put them to the task. Let's see what they actually do when they're given the responsibilities that a manager should have.
Absolutely, and that is a full bar, which I don't think these people were used to seeing.
Absolutely not. So they each have 20 minutes to prove themselves, which is plenty of time to prove yourself. I don't want to hear any excuses. I don't want to hear that this person got unfair treatment or whatever. You each have 20 minutes. There's a full bar the entire time. It's not like people are coming and go, whatever. You have 20 minutes. So Keisha, Laura, and Bobby, we decided to go with the three of you. Sarah and Chyna, you haven't been there for that long, and I don't even know how you got to be managers in the first place. So we're going to put the three of you to the test, and it was so telling. This was brilliant that John set it up like this.
It literally was like white and black.
Yeah.
You have Mr. Bobby, who literally impressed the hell out of me. Not only did he hustle and bustle, but he was a manager. You know what a manager does? They have eyes everywhere.
And they take care of the customer.
Number one cardinal rule. I don't know if you guys have worked in any bars or whatever, but when you're in a bar, the manager of the bar is helping.
Always.
If it's busy. Always helping. So Bobby nailed it. Home run. I think he did $627 in sales, 22 food, 38 drink. Congratulations to Bobby.
Yeah, it's very difficult because it's a fine line when you are a manager. You always do have to be helping. You have to notice where the weak spots are and you have to fill in there. But you can't be so narrow-minded that you're only helping in one area and you're missing out on the big picture. So it's really interesting. Sometimes you'll see people on Bar Rescue and they'll be managers and you'll see they're helping, they are running around, but they are missing the big picture. They're just serving drinks. They don't look up. They don't go into the kitchen. So you have to wear so many different hats as the manager, which I thought he did a really good job doing. Then we had Keisha and Laura. They had a combination of not doing enough and doing too much, but just in one area. They just didn't understand. I mean, we've got Laura who did 3 foods and 15 drinks. That's just disgusting.
178 in sales.
Right. Well, and she didn't even ring in half the thing. Nina wasn't ringing the
She's standing around not doing anything the entire time.
Nothing. And Keisha was a little closer with 508, 13 food, 39 drinks, but she still didn't have that manager quality.
She ignored the kitchen the entire time.
Right.
Yeah, and the kitchen was really running behind because of that. And what Bobby did really well is he would look up. He had this managerial view of everything. Catfish? You want a catfish? How many catfish? Let me get like 6, 7. Okay, perfect. Put 6 catfish in the computer. Perfect.
Right.
All right, you want to punch? How many punch? 10 punch? Make 10 punch. So that you're not making a sidecar and then you got to make this and then you got to go back and make another sidecar. If there's 5 people who want a sidecar, why don't you ask? And then you can make them all together.
What you just did was delegating. He was saying, okay, let me get all the information and then let me delegate it to somebody else.
Absolutely.
They were saying, okay, let me get all the information. All right, how am I going to do all this? That was 5 sidecars. Okay, I'll just do this myself. That was this. Okay, let me just do this. It's never going to work like that. You're a manager.
It's also mob mentality. When you have tons of people in a bar, if one person isn't getting their drink for a little bit, it's multiplied if everyone around them is not getting their drinks. At least if you're one person and you've been waiting 10 minutes for a drink, if you see other people getting their drinks, you know you're naturally going to get your drink at some point.
It's coming, right.
If nobody is getting their drinks, nobody's getting their drinks.
Let's talk about realistically. Laura's turn. 3 people are served food. Can you imagine sitting somewhere for 20 minutes? You've got hundreds of people there, and you only see 3 things come out. You know you've ordered something. You see 3 things come out in 20 minutes. You're probably thinking to yourself, I'm never getting my food. That is never going to happen. I'm going to have to wait here for days.
Yeah.
I might as well just cancel it and go to McDonald's and grab something.
I was just going to say, those are those hangry moments.
Yeah.
Hungry and angry, there's nothing worse, where you're like, screw this, I'm going to the drive-thru.
You make a rash decision like that. You're like, I'm not going to sit here and wait for this. And by the way, the 3 people who got their food were sitting there like, this isn't even that good. Really?
Meanwhile, you have 1 hour out of this night, and Nina could not be positive for even that.
Yep.
She was dragging all 3 of these managers behind. All 3 of them. And you know what? You couldn't have that. So we get through the stress test. Nina did not ring in a single drink.
Yeah, and she said that she didn't like Lisa Marie. So, I I'm sorry, this is the one person in here who's actually helping you?
She's like, you can do this. She's actually encouraging you. She's not berating you. She's not being mean to you.
Which is shocking, because she so could have.
Oh,
If
yeah.
that were me, I'd have been like, you're the worst goddamn bartender. Get out of my bar. Get out of my bar. Like, I can't do it.
But who does she tell that she doesn't like her? She says it to the customers. What is more embarrassing
While Bradley's
than that?
listening.
Are you crazy? Can you imagine being a bartender deciding you're going to complain about the people helping you to the customers? What are you? If they didn't fire her, I was going to throw my hands up and throw the book down and walk out. Like,
It's so bad.
So we get a little Taffer knowledge here with if you get drinks out 10 seconds quicker, you'll make 10 to 15% more money. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
bar science.
Yeah.
Fact.
Which makes it kind of interesting because they have this system where they think they're helping themselves by putting the caps on the liquor and pouring it when it takes longer, and it's actually losing them money on a system that they think is saving them money when they could just teach their bartenders pouring.
I've been to bars that label their beer taps, that do all these things to help the staff. I get it. You're trying to help the staff. Hire staff that knows what they're doing, and you don't have to take these precautions. You don't have to do stuff like this.
Or train them. If you hire
train them
people who know
properly.
enough and then train them properly.
Absolutely. I mean, any bartender should know how to pour a 1, 2, 3 ounce pour without even thinking about it, without even measuring it, and you should trust them enough. They should be good enough employees that they can do that. You shouldn't have to get this tap system that actually backfires a lot of the time depending on what you're making.
And then you have to
expensive.
clean it, and I guarantee you they were not cleaning it.
Right.
Oh, how do you know that?
Because of the mold.
Is it about the cockroach crap?
Well, that was on the soda tap. That wasn't on. That was.
If they're not cleaning the soda tap, they're not cleaning anything.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You soak it all at night. You know that. That's bar
Yeah.
101.
The moment I knew Bobby would be GM, the moment you kind of realize that is when he doesn't care about the timer. He's getting that customer another catfish because they dropped one.
Wait a second. Did we just say Bobby was made the manager?
Bobby was made the general manager.
Yay! I was so I looked at you and I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy this just happened.
I know.
He deserves it. Passion, passion, passion. Number one most important thing. If you're going to run a restaurant, like what you're doing. If you're going to do anything in life, like what you're doing. Bobby loved what he was doing. He was great at it. And he was great with the customers.
It's so crazy on the show how you never really know how somebody's going to turn out. Because when we initially saw him, he was actually just sitting there watching somebody cook food. That's not managing. You're just an observer. That's not
getting a
management.
paycheck for sitting.
So
Absolutely.
I was thinking, wow, this dude really he doesn't have it. He just doesn't have it. But then when he was told we're $1 million in debt, this is what you need to do, he said, all right, man, I'm going to do this for you. And boy, did he do it.
Well, God only knows how many months of struggle and bad attitudes and horrible atmosphere that these people have been working in. Bobby probably just felt deflated, which I could understand working in an environment like that. So all you need is a little John Taffer to light a fire under your ass, and hey, it works. So kudos to John Taffer. He does this to people.
I will say a negative attitude can really make or break a place.
Absolutely.
And when you look at Irma and you look at Nina and you look at how they've been reacting to everything, thank God Nina was not made a manager for some reason or another. Honestly, thank God.
I wonder why.
Well, you just mentioned Irma, though, and that was horrifying to me because you don't treat your boss like that.
So-
Are you insane? Especially not in front of people.
So it looked like they were closing the bar down at night, and
Right.
Irma went to have maybe a
She's having a beer.
beer.
But honestly, where'd you get the beer from? The only place to get a beer from is the bar.
Right.
So
and then didn't she say she didn't get it from there?
She tried to justify who bought it. 'Cause
Yeah.
She was like,
I know it ain't
somebody
free.
paid for it or like whatever. And then they were like, well, I didn't ask that. I asked where'd you get it.
So Sarah says, Irma has attitude. And Irma says, she don't know I have attitude. She don't know me like that. And then he says it's inappropriate for her to drink. And she says he's being an ass.
Okay, you need to have very clear rules in place. The bar that I worked at, we had an end of the shift drink. You got one drink at the end of your shift if you wanted it. That was something that was very clear to everybody else, and then you had to go home. Some bars don't have that. Some bars have different rules.
Right.
Whatever the rule is, all of the employees need to be aware of what that rule is so they can follow it. It seemed to me like she grabbed a beer thinking that was legitimate in her mind or in some mind, and then he was like, dude, you can't have that beer. And then she got so defensive, she started screaming at him, but that's your boss.
This is what I think about the situation. This is one situation I'm not going to really agree with Bradley. I don't think Bradley did a good job in the beginning. Now, I think he's changed of putting his foot down. and I don't think he did a good job of putting rules in place. So I think that it was kind of like a thing, like, oh, let's get a beer. I don't think anyone will say anything. Like, I don't think there was a clear established rule. So I don't really blame Irma for breaking it. And I've worked at bars like that where it's like, well, if they don't really see us having the beer, it's okay.
We're not working anymore.
I don't blame her for taking it.
Right.
I don't blame her for having the beer at all.
But her attitude.
I blame her for when he says that it's an issue and she can't do it. She says that he has a bad attitude, and she tells him not to say it in that tone of voice. And he's like, "That's like, this is your boss.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter."
Here's what I think realistically happened. She always does that. He never says anything. The cameras are there right
Bingo.
now, so
Yeah.
he says something. So that is, not the greatest. But regardless, even if you are so sure of something, when your boss says something to you, you don't react like that. And if you have a problem with your boss, what you do is you bite your tongue and then you pull your boss aside. To treat your boss like that in front of his other employees is a huge issue, because nobody is going to treat your boss the way he deserves to be treated if they see that you can get away with treating him a different way.
Absolutely.
Big problem.
What makes a good leader? Somebody that's well respected, somebody that's listened to. If you're naturally a person that people don't listen to,
People
you
aren't gonna
can't be in
listen to you.
charge. You're not going to listen to you. They're not going to respect you.
So we gotta get through this. So John tells them how much money they could make. He says, if you're funny one, you don't eat at one place and drink in another. We need a place where people can eat and drink at the same time. We're going to build it around beef because we're in Illinois, and this is the place. Beef and potatoes and steak is the thing to go with, because you have
Absolutely.
this clientele 41 years old and up, and looking for something that's more classy, and we get a high profit contribution from it. It increases the profit, and we get Sarah replacing Irma. So Sarah, who basically just got Irma fired in a way,
Yeah,
is
I don't think
replacing
we
Irma.
said Nina and Irma were fired.
Yes.
All right, this is where I get a little confused. I think it's awesome that Sarah steps up and she's like, okay, I can do this. Your main goal now is to have delicious food, and you're going to put somebody in the kitchen who's never been in the kitchen before.
You need to train her right, and they didn't do
And
that.
you can't in one day. You can't train somebody to be a chef in one day. You just can't. People go to years and years of school for that. I felt bad for Sarah, and again, I respect her decision to step up, but I think it's setting them up for failure when... How is she supposed to know medium, rare? She can use the thermometer, but...
Bad job placement really upsets me because there's so many people that want jobs, and there's probably so many chefs that went to cooking school and can make a great steak. Why are you putting the somewhat bartender manager in the kitchen? Just no, go hire a chef.
Yeah, it wasn't a good idea.
They didn't have any time to. I understand why for this show, but I
Right.
really hope after this show they said, okay, girl, if you want to train, let's train you. But for now...
we need to hire somebody.
We need to hire somebody, absolutely.
So we get a new cocktail menu. Its inspiration is that this is going to be a classy establishment. So we get the Cicero sidecar with
Yum.
Crown Royale, non-alcoholic, triple sec, sweet and sour, and a lemon peel. Sounds pretty good.
Amazing.
And then we have the PNPL, which is pineapple, basically. Half-ounce Ciroc pineapple, a quarter-ounce of lime and soda, and I believe one other thing. I didn't get a chance to write it down.
So simple, though.
yeah.
This was simple. This was easy. You can't really botch this. I mean, I guess you could, but you should be fired if you can't make this PNPL.
And they made it social media friendly. Hashtag PMPL.
There you go.
That's awesome.
Totally.
Trendy.
So cooking, we get back in the kitchen, and Chef tells us about the Maillard reaction, which is food cooked at a high temperature. The amino acids and simple sugars rearrange into rings, giving the meat a brown color, and also gives the flavor of roasting, which is why burgers that are grilled are much more tasty or have that flavor.
And not microwaved.
Yeah.
So then we get to renovations. John is talking with Bradley about the signage package, and then he tells him about doubling the seats. So if you've watched Bar Rescue from the start, you always get this bar science of a seat in a bar is worth $10,000 a year. So when you have all these people who have bars that aren't centered around dancing, and they take up a whole place with nothing there for the off chance that people would dance, or if you see the space not being used wisely, you're losing money. Mm-hmm. And he adds in 36 more seats. So to take a yearly amount, that's adding $360,000 annually to the value of this bar.
If you can fill the bar.
If you can fill the bar.
Which you should be able to fill a bar this frickin' beautiful.
Yep.
And this small. It's really not a big place.
Yeah, 76 seats or
Total of
something?
76 seats, yeah. They should definitely be able to fill this. And the bar fit the demographic better.
Yeah.
They turned it into a
Turned into
steakhouse bar.
BR Steak House and Bar. It's looked really great.
It's
Right.
called BR Steak. And
BR Steak, yeah.
I thought it was one of the most beautifully designed bars we've seen on the show. I think John agreed. I think you guys agreed as well. Classy, gorgeous. A place that I would go have a fantastic cocktail and a steak. Loved what they did with the design.
But you need your product to live up to the design.
Absolutely. You can't go into a place that looks so great. Because what this place says is it says, ooh, good food, classy drinks. You go in and the steak's cooked wrong, the steak's not so great, the food doesn't live up. It has to. Because you're now presenting such an upscale platform in front of people, so they're going to go in with higher expectations.
You can't spray paint a rock and call it gold.
Right.
Exactly.
This place is being set up really well for them in terms of their clientele and all of that, but their actual infrastructure, we're going to have a little problem here.
So we get a pod breaker about silverware and placemat settings, basically where you can set that out in between them having a drink and getting their food, so you can sell another drink to boost your sales. And then we get the relaunch, which is BR Steak, Bar and Steakhouse, black sign with white letters. I always love it when they do this because so many places make the mistake of white sign with letters, which just looks so dull and drab, and then the sign and the white is what's grabbing your attention, not what you actually have on the sign.
I agree.
So I really like this, especially with that road going right by. Bobby's excited to market the place as a GM, and we get inside. Looks great. Install POS systems, which they desperately needed. They get a bartender inventory system, and it looks on Orange Door sound system. It looks like a good date night place.
Absolutely. It looks like a place you want to go and you want to sit for 2 hours and you want to enjoy yourself and have something awesome. I think that they crushed the design of this place.
Yeah, I think, like you said, the only thing that was wrong was the infrastructure, the stuff that's inside, the stuff that kind of really matters. John gave them everything to work with, all the right tools, and I think for this place to be successful, they have to gut the staff. I really think that, and I'm not trying to be harsh on the people there. I'm sure they're hard workers, but they either need training or they need to be replaced.
You know those shows that's like swap and two people swap lives? If you took an awesome group of bartender staff or whatever that worked at a successful bar and you put them in this place, it would absolutely crush the competition.
Nobody would do that because nobody would want to swap their successful staff with unsuccessful staff.
Absolutely not. I'm just saying that.
If that was a reality show, it'd be a good one, though. Yeah, that's what they need.
So they do the relaunch. Everything seems to be spiraling out of control until Bobby kind of steps in and starts telling his bartenders, make 4 or 5 at a time. We have 200 people in here. You can't do single orders. Let's just make a bunch. And you know what? If we have 5 on reserve, they're going to sell. We have 200 people here. Let's just do it. Just kind of getting drinks in hands because that's the most important point at that part. And then, as that happens, everyone has their drinks, you can settle on food, and everything kind of starts to work itself out.
It's set up for success. You only have 3 drinks you're pouring, so anytime you're pouring something, you should be pouring multiples of it. That's not really how life works. You don't have 3 drinks that you're making all night. So this is like, come on, guys, if you can't do 3 drinks...
It was bartending made easy.
Yeah.
3 drinks. Okay, perfect. Same thing I did last time. Let me see. You got 5. All right, 6. Okay, perfect. I'll make a pitcher. Start shaking them up. Start pouring them out. There you go. Now you have fast, speedy service. Everybody's happy. Everyone has a drink in hand, and it's timely.
Yeah. So John leaves happy, thinks that they're set up for success. We get the update at the end of the episode. 6 weeks later, Nina and Irma are still gone. Thank the Lord.
Thank you.
20% increase.
In food and drinks.
Wow.
Which... I was looking for something higher. Honestly, I was hoping for something higher than that.
I was hoping, but wasn't expecting.
I feel like firing Nina and actually having your main bartender ringing in drinks should have applied that 20% to begin with.
Right.
Disaster.
Yeah, it's worrisome that it was that low to me. And Bobby's doing a great job as general manager is the other update we got.
Not surprised with that.
Yes.
Yeah. Like I said, I think we did the post-bar update.
We looked at bar rescue updates.
Yeah.
And it's upsetting, to say the least, because in the things that Bobby has excelled at, he has not updated the Facebook page on this place in over a year since the updates. They have not gotten too many Yelp reviews, which means that he's not talking to customers and telling them to do that, which is one of the roles that managers have. Every week, a restaurant usually has something that convinces people to go to these sites, to go to Yelp, to go to Foursquare, to go to Facebook, check in, get something, rate and review, get something. Doesn't seem like they're doing that.
What's the biggest complaint? The food. You wanna
food.
know why? Because you don't have a chef at a steakhouse.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so bad. so bad. I mean, I could go back there and flip some burgers, and they'd probably be pretty damn good, but I can't go back there and grill up some steaks and pass them as, a chef steak. You're probably paying a pretty pricey number for it, because this is an upscale, classy place now.
Yeah, you get a strip steak, you're probably paying at least $18 for that.
Yeah, I can make a damn good steak, but it took like years to get to the point where I can consistently make it. Honestly, you can get lucky sometimes, but if you're in a high capacity restaurant where like they're going out, like your main thing is steaks, you can maybe get lucky. Maybe 30% of the time you're putting a good steak out there, but 30% is not going to cut it when everything on your menu is steak-based.
Consistency is key, and there's just no way that she's going to be consistent.
And she can't work every single night, so who's working when she's not there?
And then who is going to get the heat for it? She is. People are going to be mad at her, but it's not her fault. She's just not well-trained.
All right, so honestly, conclusion, I wish Bradley the best. I hope we come back to the bar and see that they're doing successful, and maybe he's paid off that $1 million, because that's just terrible to get that far in debt.
Me too. But John did everything he could on this one. He really did. So now it's up to Bradley to figure out his staff and his people.
And without him taking that money out of his pocket to really build the staff he needs, I don't know if it can happen.
Yeah, I think he just needs to rearrange and replace a lot. I think you can keep a lot of the staff you have, but it would take a lot of demotions to do that. You need food runners. A lot of them, I'm sure, could run food. But like I said, you'd be demoting a lot of people. So I say restaff.
Honestly, staff for what you get in customers, because they're not going to have 200 people there every night. But honestly, you don't need 6 bartenders there every night either.
No.
There's no reason. You should have maybe 1 bartender and one manager who can food run and cover the rest of the bar they need.
Right, just be on the lookout for whatever needs helping.
Staff costs can save you a lot of money if you staff right.
I agree.
And there are ways to help your employees get to other places if they need to. If you say to them, listen, I can't have you as a manager anymore. I would love you to stay on as a bartender, but if that's not something you're interested in, let me try to make a phone call for you. Let me write a really great recommendation for you, whatever it is. There are ways to do this respectfully.
Well, I feel like this was a good episode of Bar Rescue. I feel like we're going to get some crazy next week, because we're getting the haunted bar.
Yeah, John Taffer ain't afraid of no ghosts. That's the name of the episode, so we'll see.
That's what we'll do. So let's go ahead and wrap this out. I believe Kevin Undergar will be back here next week. Sorry you had to deal with me this one. But joining me tonight again, where can they find you on Twitter, Daria?
You can find me at Tough Daria on all of your social media. Follow my journey to the WWE. See you guys soon.
And Roxy Stryer?
You guys can find me everywhere at Roxy Stryer.
And you can find me on Twitter at Stephen Lemieux, as well as doing the Killjoys, Graceland, and Strain after shows. Go to iTunes, search AfterBuzz Bar Rescue, leave us a 5-star review and comment, and we'll give you a shout out on the show next week. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you next week for episode 28. John Taffer ain't afraid of no ghost.
No.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.